Dun. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting, fantastic, wonderful edition of Everything Real Estate and some crap that's not. Okay, that's not exactly how I usually say it. And some other stuff that's usually not. Again, I'm Brad Brewer with Eagle Homes, powered by EXP, along with my business partner, Vincent Devall, who just waved and is in the hat. And we've got our friendly Bucky Badger, A to Z mortgage man, Adam Zeman here with us as well. So he loves it. He loves his Bucky the Badger.
New coach.
Okay.
How do you feel about the new coach?
50-50. I don't know how to feel yet.
All right.
Yeah. All right. We'll let you marinate that a little bit then. So
for those that are Bucky's fans, I'm also a volleyball fan, and Bucky's made the dance again this year for women's volleyball, and they play Friday night. So I think they're the number 3 seed overall in the tournament. So hopefully they can win a back-to-back championships. We'll see what happens.
Sweet.
All right, let's go. House hacking, seller buyer concessions. I love it.
All right. Well, then you got it, man. Let's talk house hacking. Tell us, Vince? What is house hacking? I don't know what the heck that is.
It's called BS.
All right, maybe I do, but some people may not. So you're gonna have to educate us.
It's amazing. So more lately, talking to first-time home buyers, I think it's great for first-time home buyers or someone that's trying to build a long-term portfolio or passive income down the road. But house hacking can be anything from renting out your basement to buying a multifamily unit. And some people don't, and I'm going to let Adam talk on like the lending side of things on how that kind of benefits a buyer potentially. But some people don't quite realize how easy it is to look, instead of looking at a single family, looking at a duplex, and realizing that eventually if they pay their part of the mortgage or they get assistance from the second unit, they can easily either A, have that unit paid off quicker, or B, start creating passive income. But house hacking, I have a little graph that I share with especially first-time home buyers sometimes. Just stepped on my dog. First-time home buyers sometimes to kind of show them, a rough graph of what that looks like. So I'm gonna share something with you guys real quick here.
Right. I'm already getting emails from PETA. Thanks, Vince.
That's awesome. I love it. Can you guys see my screen all right?
Yeah. We can now. Yes.
Yeah. So, when someone talks about house hacking and, if they're buying a $250,000 home, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, they're putting 4% down, they're putting $10,000 down. Their mortgage with interest and principal, and this does not include tax, mortgage insurance, homeowners insurance, just interest and principal, roughly $1,600. Now, out of their pocket, if they're not renting anything, they're looking at $1,600 out of pocket. Well, obviously, if you start renting out a single family room or you go to a duplex or triplex, even though, let's talk single family. So if you bought a single family house and you rented out the basement for $500, you just reduced your cost of that $1,600 down to $1,100 roughly, right? And there's great opportunities out there for people to do this. There is an organization out there that helps traveling nurses and doctors. So you could get on their program and rent out your basement or a bedroom, and it's almost, depending on the program, it's almost guaranteed income because the program will either pay you or the individual will, depending on how you have it set up. But it's just a great way to offset your costs. So even if you're a single family owner and you just want that extra income, their terms are only for about 3 months at a time, 12 weeks. And Adam and I are working with a client right now that was doing this and is eager to get out of her home. Or get out of her rental spot right now. But she was renting a basement. It was in Illinois for, I think, $800 a month or something, or maybe a little more than that. But it's a great way to create more income. Now, if you go to a duplex, excuse me, you're talking about duplex, each side having 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and if it's $300,000, I've seen some in our area that were selling for $280 to $300. same idea, 3-bedroom, 1-bath. Down payment's going to be a little more. Your mortgage interest is going to be a little more, but you can then rent out that other unit for say $1,500. That just lowered your out-of-pocket expense to $500 roughly, $416 on these numbers. And then obviously if you go to a 3-unit, you can see what that does to you. Your down payment a little more, your mortgage and interest a little more, but your rental income, if you're charging $1,500 per unit and you're living in the other one, you're basically pocketing money and living for free. So house hacking, is great for somebody that wants to create that passive income. And what you call it? Sorry, my dog whining now. Not sure what's going outside. So it's a great opportunity. Adam, on the lending side of things, how does that work?
Okay, so love your chart. Keep it up for a second.
Okay.
Or never mind. Don't worry about it. So
I
for
got it
that,
right here.
I think the program you're probably most likely going to look at for doing this in this situation would probably be like an FHA loan, which 1 to 4 units is still 3.5% down. Albeit it gets a little wonky in the 3 and 4 units. That's something that there's how they derive the income on the rent gets a little wonky on those 3 and 4 units. But long story short, you can buy a 1 to 4 unit property with an FHA mortgage, 3.5% down, 85 basis points for the mortgage insurance, which most people aren't going to understand. But basically, the mortgage insurance is the same for a 1 unit or a 4 unit, no matter what your credit score is. So I like that. This is a situation. Now, if you're looking at conventional, those down payments are drastically different for a 1 unit versus a 2 unit versus a 3 unit, 4 unit, so on and so forth. So I just want to say that about that, the difference in the program. So for house hacking, you're a first-time home buyer and you really want to get into this. This is something you really want to dip your toes into. I suggest you get like a 2 unit FHA, 3.5% down. Best way to go by far, because that's going to allow you to bring the least amount of money in, and then maybe your second property you've saved some money, and then you can go like a conventional type situation. So I've seen a lot of people, I've coached a lot of people to doing that. I've literally done that myself. And I was able to do that and then actually refinance into a conventional mortgage because the values have gone up so much. So that's what you're really looking for. You can only have one FHA mortgage. You can't repeat this process over and over and over and over again. You have to, if you do one, if you refinance into a conventional, you could do another FHA owner occupied home. So do you have any questions about that? I kind of spit out a lot of information quickly.
Well, and I want to point something out, because I was going to ask a question and then you answered it. My question was going to be, hey, Adam, I own my primary residence right now. Can I use an FHA to run a program and buy a duplex and rent out both sides? But the answer to that is no, because it has to be your primary residence, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
How do they know if it's my primary residence?
Well, that's one of the biggest mortgage frauds out there. And after closing, there's checks and balances before closing, and that's one of the things underwriters will like scrutinize the heck out of. But after closing, I don't know, is because I'm not in that department, but I'm guessing they're going to check to make sure that there could be an audit to make sure that your utilities are in your name for that property, or your mailing address has changed, or I know there's some sort of checks and balances. I don't think they're going to audit every house, but you could be the one that gets audited. You don't want to get caught with that. They will recapture your loan. They will call it back. And when you start a mortgage, literally the verbiage is they can call back that mortgage, and then you got to hire attorneys, and it's not, you just committed mortgage fraud essentially.
So quick question. Obviously, we want to keep people out of trouble, but maybe you can speak to this, or we can follow up with this answer if we don't know on the spot here. If someone buys this first house under FHA, but then they keep the FHA and they do legitimately then end up buying another property, is there anything that's against that as far as audit afterwards that could catch them when people legitimately can change their minds about things?
Yeah, you just want to be there at least 6 months. I mean, I think that's don't quote me on that rule, but that's kind of like at least 6 months is you're
Okay.
probably in the clear, you know? And there's nothing to say you can't buy an FHA mortgage. Or you can buy a home with an FHA mortgage, live there for a year and a half. Maybe you had an opportunity to refinance it and then go do the same thing.
Got it.
You can do that, you know, just gotta give yourself a little bit of time.
Okay.
But I've been told a couple different things, but 6 months seems to always stick out. Like if you're there for at least 6 months, and you're kind of safe.
Okay. All right. That's good. Good answer. I'm sorry, Vince, you're getting ready to say something.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So what you were saying that a duplex and triplex, or a triplex and a quadplex could be a little more difficult. What are some of the challenges with if you went into a triplex? We don't see any of them. So
if you need to rent, the scheduled rent to offset the payment for you to qualify, there's some weird wonky rules, and I just had 2 of them in my group come through, and it was I don't know specifically what it was, and I can get back to you on that, but I know that it became a challenge. It's a one-off rule for FHA, and it's something you need to really be careful for if you're gonna write that. Like, it's better to be able to afford most of the payments without the offset of the rental income. So, but for duplex, if you need, if your income is maybe a little short, you can use 75% of the vacant unit or the unit you're gonna rent out to offset your mortgage payment. So that's another advantage into, you know, house hacking or using a duplex to purchase your first home.
yeah, so basically what you're saying is a duplex, we can count that that rental income to kind of, you know, get us over that edge and maybe purchase something a little bit bigger, a little bit different than what we originally planned. And that's, you know, that's why I like using the example of going to primary residence and duplex and my duplex on my shared screen here, that, you know, even if you're going up in a mortgage, you can account for that income, which then is going to make you, if you qualified for the single family at 250,000, and then we get you to a duplex, you know, if the rental income's there and it's say $1,000 and we're using half of it, you're still going to qualify, right?
Yeah. So if you qualify for like a 250, and you might go up to maybe 350 if you're in an area where you get decent rents. Let's just say it is using an easy number, $1,000. You're using 750 bucks to offset your payment. Okay, so that will bring your debt to income ratio down lower if you're at a high debt ratio, is where it might get you in a position to qualify for that.
Gotcha.
It could be a pretty big difference. I mean, rents are pretty high, so if you're in a desirable area with rents that are high, you might be from 250 to 375. I'm just kind of throwing numbers out there, but it could be a pretty big difference.
Yeah. Well, and ideally that rent's going to offset that too. Now on a conventional, let's say I wanted to go conventional. What are some of the challenges with conventional? You said that the down payment's more. Are we looking at 20-25% as a primary?
Yeah, let me pull it up. I think
Okay.
Fannie Mae.
I know that could definitely be a challenge for people, is when you're looking at a higher down payment.
Yeah, I think it's 85% LTV for a 2-unit, which is 15% down.
Yeah.
But let me look at this real quick. So a 2-unit is 80. This is Fannie Mae, by the way.
Okay.
So a 2-unit is 85% LTV, which is 15% down. A 3 to 4 unit is 75 LTV, which is 25% down.
And that's even if you're gonna live in it as your primary residence.
Doesn't matter. Yep.
You know, so
if you're not, that's an investment, which is considered, you know, probably 25%.
Right. So, you know, with a conventional loan, obviously you're gonna have to put more money down if you're getting into a duplex or triplex. You're gonna eliminate PMI, but obviously the amount of money you're putting down should offset the PMI, right?
Yep.
Interest rates very similar, or what? Or are you gonna pay
nowadays? So not to be overly technical, they're in rate compression times, which we're at. Like a year ago, you had your conventional rates were a little lower than government rates. No, they switched. So when I started mortgages, government rates were much lower than conventional rates, and then they switched in that time. Now they're sort of switching back. So
Gotcha.
that's a way technical thing. That's even above my head exactly why that happens. But you probably will realize a better interest rate with a FHA mortgage than you would a conventional at this point.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Great.
Vince, I have a question for you. As somebody's agent, is this something like during a buyer consultation for like a first time home buyer or any buyer that you tend to ask questions around?
Oh, 100%. Like this is something, you know, I think for me, it kind of comes out when we talk about, you know, their how soon they want to move, what their goals are, long-term goals. And a lot of times long-term goals, people go, oh, I'd love to own my house for 3 or 4 years and then rent it out. And then we jump right into, you know, owning a duplex and house hacking it and things like that. If I don't get that from that part of the conversation, then I will, you know, I'll bring it up down the road when we start talking about purchasing power and what they might be looking for, as a way to kind of give them another option, give them something else to think about. Because some people don't realize, like Adam said, that the power to use the rental income. And if it's not rented out, right, Adam, there's a schedule that lenders.
Yeah, there's a form. It's I don't know, 26A or something like that. You order when you do an appraisal, and it gives you the rent schedules.
Yep. Yeah. It kind of says, hey, that the average for, you know, Burlington, Wisconsin is $1,200 for a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And then you guys take 75% of that kind
Exactly.
of that helps offset, you know, vacancy and helps offset if the unit isn't quite up to par. Right.
Yeah. And you can maybe get a lease that maybe they haven't moved in. You might be able to use a lease for something that they're going to be moving in. And then I kind of want to, like, this is another offset to kind of house hacking. If you do a primary residence, you bought conventionally, and it has to be conventional. And then you want to, like last year, you wanted to upgrade, you wanted to move into a new home. If you rent out your primary residence, you can offset that with a lease for your new property. Only conventional though. So you can see how it gets complicated with these different rules for different programs. So I had people during the, you know, the height of all this, they were just getting a lease to show they had their primary residence leased out to purchase a new home to offset their payment. So that's huge for people that are willing to, they actually do want to buy and hold homes and have a portfolio.
Hey, speaking of that, because I know there's situations where obviously, you know, the rental income you're getting counts towards your income. So it helps with debt to income ratios for your purchasing power. So if I was to buy a duplex that I'm planning on moving into, and there was one unit vacant when I'm purchasing, but the other one was rented out and had an existing lease, can I, as the buyer, count that income, which I'm going to be inheriting with that lease that's already in place? Can any portion of that income be counted? Because I know there's ways you can, like first year, you can count 75% of the income, like different lenders will do that. Can I count that income?
You should be able to count that income. We should be able to use that current lease.
Okay. 100% or like a prorated portion of it?
No, it should be 100%. So it's always 75%, no matter what no matter if it's FHA conventional, it's always 75% of the leased amount.
Okay.
But it would be the full leased amount, you know.
Full leased amount. Okay. So that's another thing to really keep in, you know, for especially first time home buyers, because they're already, you know, they might be nervous about it. So it's not always bad when you're inheriting a lease. So I think that's another great situation to consider. So, Vince, what other questions have you come across recently when you brought this up to home buyers that, you know, you thought was kind of an interesting, you know, question that you want people to know? Or,
you know, the biggest question I get when it comes to house hacking is, I don't know if I'm ready to be a landlord, right? That is the biggest question. I don't know if I'm ready to deal with tenants or anything like that. And really what I tell them is there's management companies out there that will manage your property. My properties, I don't manage them. Someone else does. Adam, I don't know. Do you manage your own tenants?
I do, because at the moment I'm on site, so I do,
Okay.
but I gotta tell you, my personality, I'm more of a macro guy. Like, I don't want to micromanage people, so I don't enjoy it. I don't enjoy being the bad guy. I have to have another conversation today, actually, about something that's stupid, but I have to have a conversation. I think you have to really look into see what kind of person you are, and if you
Yep.
want to micromanage that, then do it. But otherwise, yeah, just get a management company.
Yeah. And
I,
really, sorry.
I'm really interested in the nurse thing, man. Like that's right up my alley. That's what I'm gonna do with my upper as soon as I get out of here.
Yeah, I'll send you the company that does it. And it's actually a client of both of ours that used that program, and she's the one that turned me on to them. And I've turned them on. I've turned a couple other of my clients on to them for renting out their VRBOs, right? Getting their VRBOs filled for the wintertime. It's a great opportunity. So I'll send you that information after this chat, and you can reach out to them. But yeah, it's I think the biggest thing is management. I don't want to manage it. I don't want to be the person that has to have that awkward conversation of, hey, your dog didn't pick up their doo-doo in the front yard, right? Like
Sure.
that, it's silly. So you pay a management company 8 to 10% of your fee of your rental income, and they handle all that. They make sure leases are renewed. There might be a little more of a fee up front for putting someone in a property, but it's probably the biggest thing that I hear when we start talking about it. Because I think once we start talking the numbers, people get excited that there's potential of actually paying less out of pocket and getting into something a little bit, maybe a nicer neighborhood, maybe a bigger home, whatever it might be. Duplexes, and when it comes to especially duplexes, we see more of those around than we see triplexes or 4 units. The one thing also is that they're very specific. Like, well, if I want a duplex, I want a side by side. I don't want someone living above me, or I don't want to have to do the stairs. So it's, now it's a different set of details. But yeah, I think that's the biggest one. What other questions do you have about house hacking?
Well, kind of a follow-up there to the management portion. So you had mentioned that, there's some upfront costs. Do you know about what that typically is for you? Obviously there's a they're filling it, they're taking care of the lease,
Yep.
and obviously the regular monthly stuff is covered under the 8 to 10% or whatever. But what's that fee usually?
That up month cost typically is 1 month's rent. And then your management company will have typically an application fee that they'll collect and a credit check fee that is paid by the potential candidate. So that's not out of your pocket. So if your rent is $1,000 a month and they give you a security deposit plus first month's rent, typically your management company will keep your first month's rent and send you the security deposit. Now, something to think about is short-term leases, 6 months at a time. It's really hard to recoup that upfront cost. So if you had that upfront cost of $1,000, it's hard to recoup that upfront cost on a 6-month lease. So, if you're doing a 6-month lease, understand that, if they move out after 6 months, they have to put another tenant in there. You're now down $2,000 for that unit. And unless you own the unit free and clear outright, you probably didn't make $2,000 profit in that 6 months. So just keep that in mind.
Right.
So yeah.
Otherwise, there is normally though the referral fees, the referral fees are typically that your management company is going to charge you is less. So as long as you can if you can renew that tenant on the 6 month, or even if you're doing the year leases, the renewal fees usually, from what I understand, about a quarter of the cost, or could be less than having to go out, like you said, and go ahead and get all those new tenant screenings, interviews, all that kind of stuff. And, obviously they got to pay for that. So,
right.
So that's a good point. Perfect.
Could you, like, for me, could you get your tenant in yourself, even if it was every year, and then have them just manage it? Because obviously doing what I do, I'm used to, running people's backgrounds and credit checks and so on and so forth, and having a good beat on who's a good person and who's not. Was that an avenue people could do? Like get people in and then have them manage it afterwards?
100%, 100%, you know, and the nice thing about a management company, the one-off to that, Adam, is if someone, if you say your unit, you want to rent out the other half of yours, you want to get out of what you're in right now. If the management company is going to be responsible for opening up the unit, showing the unit, but if you have the time and availability to do it, then that's great, right? But if you don't, then the management company will obviously help with making sure the unit can be showed and stuff like that prior to you get in there. So, but yeah, definitely it's just an added perk for the management company more than anything else.
Sure.
And it takes the headache away from you, right? Like obviously if you go from 2 units to 8 units and all of a sudden you're running around because you have 3 units empty, you know, doing background checks, meeting tenants, things like that, it just becomes a little more of a headache.
Do you help someone with all those numbers and then maybe like a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plan if they're interested in really truly becoming, you know, building a portfolio, showing them how they can build that up, maybe using HELOCs to purchase another homes? I've showed people a lot of times how to do that. Will you sit down with someone and like kind of guide them through and maybe put together a plan for them?
Yeah, we can show them how either paying down more of your mortgage to get a HELOC with your income or stashing that money away, whatever it might be. Yeah, I know you and I have talked before about what it looks like to turn something into a short-term rental. But yeah, I have, you know, a graph or like a kind of a workflow spreadsheet that kind of you punch numbers in and it can help you calculate and see where you're at. Not just for short-term, but long-term as well. And and then we can see where you would be at over X amount of years, what your mortgage payment would be reduced to if you held on to it for 5 years, and ideally buying another house every year or 2 years based on your income. We can definitely work through all that.
Cool. So someone that's really interested in investing, you're the guy, basically.
I can help them with numbers. We can talk about, you know, some of the restrictions that come with different areas, like short-term rentals right now are, you know, different areas starting to crack down on them. So it's understanding what the county and city or township might be doing with short-term rentals, and you know, we'll help them get that information. But yeah, I love the rental business. I feel like that passive income is a way to grow, you know, wealth for yourself and your generation. So it's just a great opportunity out there. And you know, let's be honest, 2 things, right? Everyone needs a place to live, and if you're not doing it, someone else is doing it. So why won't you be the guy? Right? Why aren't you the guy that is going to be the landlord, own the property, make money on it? Because if you're not doing it, someone else is going to do it. So we might as well take advantage of that opportunity before someone else takes it from us. So yeah.
Nice. Not to mention appreciation.
Right. Yeah. Averages 3 to 4% a year. If you hold it for 5 years, that's pretty good appreciation. So, yep.
Sweet. Well, great topic today, guys. Obviously, I think the sum it up, the moral of the story is talk to an agent that really knows about house hacking and make sure. And I know we do it. We bring up questions about, you know, we bring up that option even if the buyers aren't thinking of it. We truly try to give them a good overview and then get with your lender like Adam just to make sure that the numbers work for you. So. Any other things today, other guys? Otherwise, that's it. So sweet. Well,
See ya.
We'll see everybody next week with another fun real estate topic and possibly some crap that's not.
Hey, next week we are going live on Mondays at 9:00 instead of Wednesdays. So Mondays at 9:00 starting next week.
That's right. New schedule, new day. Mondays at 9 a.m. Thank you, guys.
Great. See ya.